This month on the World Sailing Show, the latest from the 52 Super Series in Mallorca. The road to Tokyo 2020 hots up in Enoshima. And we head to Italy for the Kona Windsurfing World Championships. Also on the show, 2 teams, 2 launches, 2 very different boats. American Magic and Emirates Team New Zealand's brand new AC75s hit the water for the first time.
No one's ever done a boat like this before, and you know that's got its element of risk for sure.
The first generation of the AC75 is up and flying. Later in the show, we take a closer look at these boats. The 52 Super Series has become the premier category in pure monohull racing, attracting the best sailors on the planet, and in the first 3 rounds of the 2019 season, there have been 3 different winners. Hempel World's Platoon took the honours in Mallorca. Urs and Imre's Preveza were top dogs in Puerto Sherry. Before defending champions, Quantum Racing chalked up their first win in Cascais. But round 4 was the big one. The Rolex 52 World Championships in Puerto Portals, Mallorca, with 11 teams from 8 nations taking on the challenge. Quantum Racing not only won the Super Series overall last season, but did the double winning the World Championship. Having missed the event last year, their owner-driver, Doug DeVos, was with the squad this time to lead the Quantum charge.
You know, I've never been on the boat when we've won. The boat's won, but I've only competed in a few. For whatever reason, the schedule hasn't worked out for me to be able to participate, so I'm thrilled to be here and have this chance this week. It's wonderful. It's so much fun. When you sneak away for a while to do a few other things, you come back to the boat, you come back to the fleet, and you recognize just how special this is.
A light sea breeze of 8 to 9 knots greeted the teams for the opening race of the 5-day regatta. Quantum Racing made a good start and beat current series leaders Azura to the top mark. Others tangled behind them, and Brunellesets were forced to do turns, leaving the Russian squad to battle from the back. But there was far worse news for Preveza, as their mast broke without warning, leaving them in a race against time to get a replacement. Quantum never looked back and took the race 1 win, ahead of Azura and Phoenix 12. Race 2 saw Quantum Racing get a poor start this time, and instead it was Sled roaring ahead to get an unassailable lead. Behind the American boats were Phoenix 11 and Phoenix 12 for owners Hasso and Tina Plattner. Day 2 and the raised 14 knots of wind proved to be less promising for Tina Plattner and her Phoenix crew. Instead it was Sled who again got a good start in race 3 and were unstoppable as they charged to victory again, this time ahead of Platoon and Brunellesets. Race 4 and the racing was tight as ever. It looked like Platoon had got the upper hand over Allegra, but at the leeward gate, Allegra read the wind shift best and got away from their rivals, with Sled in second just ahead of Platoon. And with 4 races gone, Sled led the World Championship by 1 point over Platoon, with Allegra now amongst 4 teams tied in third behind them. Day 3, and after a frantic effort, Preveza had a new mast and were looking ready to race.
Things were a lot better this morning. The lads have worked incredibly hard. Some of the shore team have put in a shift which is just unbelievable, and I think we'll be on the line today. I think it's fair to say we'll be racing and we will do everything we can to get a good result, but will we be as good as with the other rig? No.
In fact, nobody will be racing on day 3. The weather turned sideways. It had been forecast and it was time to batten down the hatches. A heavy storm blew through Puerto Portals and the decision to abandon racing was taken. Day 4 and the Rolex 52 Worlds was back and running, with 3 races packed into the schedule. Sled and Platoon were the front runners for the championship, but it was Azura who were the most alert as the fleet returned to action with race 5 in a 12-knot northwesterly breeze. But they were outsailed by Platoon in the shifting winds, and the German boat took the win ahead of the Italians. Race 6, and again Platoon weren't first out of the blocks. This time it was Brunellesets with their noses in front. But Platoon and Allegra jibed early on the first run, and this proved the right tactic. Platoon won a second straight race from Allegra and Brunellesets, as crucially, Sled finished down in 10th. Race 7, and while Phoenix 11 held the early lead, it was Brunellesets who mastered the conditions to finally score their first World Championship win. Azzurra followed in for second, but fifth place for Platoon was enough to give them a 7-point lead over Azzurra heading into the final day. World champions in 2017, could Platoon repeat the feat or could Azzurra catch them?
I think you have to do your best race, first race, and then see what's happened on the table points and manage your last race.
Race 8, and the match racing began as Platoon were penalised for fouling Azzurra on the start line. While the top two played cat and mouse at the back of the fleet, Preveza, complete with new mast, finally scored their first win of the World Championships. In the final race of the regatta, overall leaders Platoon picked up another penalty after making contact with Quantum Racing. At the front, Sled took their third win of the week and the pride of winning the final race, but Platoon weren't done yet. They finished 9th, but right behind rivals Azzurra, and so beat the Italians to the world title.
It was a day full of opportunities and we never positioned ourselves to take advantage. They made a lot of mistakes, but we were not able to recover enough, so once again we are second, 1 point behind.
To winning the World Championship title twice in 3 years, it's a big honor, I would say. It's an effort of teamwork and team spirit for the last 5 years because more or less the same team is sticking together and that's important.
So Platoon take another World Championship, ahead of Azzurra and Brunellesets. The season finishes in Porto Cervo, Sardinia. Windsurfing next as we head to Italy for action from the 2019 Kona World Championships. 4 days of racing and 71 athletes representing 13 nations. Lake Garda played host to the Kona Worlds in August, and perfect 13 to 18 knot winds greeted the sailors as they competed for glory. Early in the week, it was Danish former champion Tim Ursen who set the pace. But Dutch ace Hugo Jantak soon found his rhythm on the course and blitzed the field with 8 victories from the 13 races to secure the title he last held in 2016. Ursen held on to the runner-up spot. Last year's winner, Alexander Temko of the USA, took third, and also the under-18 trophy ahead of fellow American Maverick Putnam, who finished 4th overall. The women's title went to Johanna Hjötberg from Sweden, who finished 7 points ahead of Canada's André Gauthier. Another Canadian, Jerry Kaplan, celebrated winning the Grand Masters prize for the over 65s to round off another successful Kona Worlds. The Lake Garda venue and host club, Circolo Surf Torbay, have been selected by World Sailing to host windsurfing's technical trials ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympics as they decide the future equipment, either foiling or non-foiling for the Games. Meanwhile, here at the Kona Worlds, it was Dutchman Hugo Jantak who had the biggest smile at the end of the week, world champion for 2019. "50 of the world's most impressive and powerful monohull yachts came to the Italian island of Sardinia to challenge for the Maxi Yacht Rolex Cup. On board were some of the world's top professional sailors. Consistent breezes, warm Mediterranean sunshine, and the stunning backdrop of Sardinia's Costa Smeralda provided perfect sailing conditions for the week. The Super Maxi class saw 2 elegant J-class yachts, Valshida and Topaz, go head-to-head. The classic 1930s built Valshida won 3 of the 5 races to come out on top, beating her equally beautiful but much younger rival, Topaz. Victory in the Wally class went to Lyra, who fought off the challenges of the larger Wally Centos and finished in the top 2 in all but 1 race. In the Maxi class, Highland Fling dropped just 2 races to win her category ahead of Rambler, whilst Nefertiti took the Racer Cruiser category. In the Mini Maxi class, Wild Joe put in a consistent performance with 4 podium finishes, but it wasn't enough to see off Super Nika, who took the Racer 2 class. The Cruiser Racer class ended equal on points, but it was awarded to H2O as she'd won the most races. The High Performance Racer 1 class was won by Cannonball for Italian owner Dario Ferrari. The 5 days of racing proved a fitting tribute to celebrate the event's 30th edition anniversary. Coming up on the World Sailing Show, medals and drama from the Hempel World Cup Series, and the world's first glimpse of the new America's Cup boats. Welcome back. Still to come, pushing the limits to claim the $1 million prize. And the new J70 World Champions are crowned. The race to win the 36th America's Cup has ratcheted up. 18 months since the class rule was published, 2 of the teams competing have launched their brand new AC75s. At their Auckland base, America's Cup defenders, Emirates Team New Zealand, launched the boat they hope will retain the historic trophy, and had clearly pushed boat design to the limits in the creation of their 75-foot foiling monohull.
It didn't take us very long to work out that to make it foil properly, it couldn't have a keel because weight kills it. So that really took you into a whole new world of a monohull with no keel that foils. And so it was the first initial button push to do that had an element of risk. It was like, suck your breath and here we go, boys, jump in. Can't swim, but let's jump.
Good morning and welcome.
At the opposite end of the globe, on the American East Coast, New York Yacht Club launched their first AC75 and named her Defiant.
What a great day, Defiant went in the water, USA 2, and we have a great family and friends here supporting the occasion and the milestone inside New York Yacht Club's American Magic. When you look about where we've come from and where we have to go, who we have to race against, and the intensity of the competition, it's nice to celebrate this milestone, and yet we have a lot of work ahead of us.
It was soon clear that the 2 boats had little in common other than their length and width. On the left here, the complex underwater shape of the New Zealanders' hull is aimed at helping them transition quickly from displacement mode to foiling. The Americans have focused more on stability from their hull shape, and you can see the Airbus connection in just how similar the hull looks to a passenger jet. The teams have gone for very different foil shapes. The sail designs will still need a lot of development. The moment the world was waiting for came first on the waters of Newport, Rhode Island. The American Magic team put Defiant through her paces and became the first to foil an AC75. In Auckland, Emirates Team New Zealand were waiting for the right conditions to go and test their own boat.
As a sailing team, we're absolutely chafing at the bit to get out there and get back on the water again. It's been a couple of years since we've sailed that last race in Bermuda as a sailing team. So to get out there and validate those design tools and validate the simulations that we've done indoors is something we're really looking forward to. So can't wait, to be honest.
It wasn't a long wait. Soon, Emirates Team New Zealand were up and foiling successfully. The plan to switch from the catamarans of the past 2 America's Cups to foiling monohulls has become a reality. But these AC75s are development boats, and the coming months will see many changes as the crews test them to the max. The inaugural SailGP season came to a climax with Tom Slingsby helming the Australia team, who claimed the $1 million prize. The series came down to a match race between the Australians and the Japan team, helmed by Slingsby's longtime rival and compatriot, Nathan Outteridge.
We want to set up for the same game. What's the mark here? Eagle. No, we're good. Copy. Step off.
The closest of races went to the Australia team, and you can watch all the action on next month's World Sailing Show.
Yeah, boys! Yeah!
The J70 World Championship saw 77 teams from 20 countries compete on the waters of Torbay in Devon on the British southwest coast. Professionals and amateurs raced off the start line together in a total of 14 races. A tight windward-leeward course of under 2 miles made for exciting racing. Eat, Sleep, J Repeat, helmed by Paul Ward, took the Open title in a thrilling finish that went to the final leg of the last race. It's the first time a British team has won the championship, but they were pushed to the wire by American boat Catapult, skippered by former world champion Joel Ronning. The amateur title was equally as close, with Ireland's Soak Racing taking the victory on countback from Great Britain's DSP. British round-the-world sailor Alex Thomson has launched the boat he hopes will help him win the next Vendee Globe. The 60-foot, 7.6-ton carbon fibre foiling Imoca boat is the culmination of 2 years of design and build work involving more than 100 naval architects, engineers and boat builders. The boat will debut in the double-handed Transac Jacques Vabre race later this month, before Thomson undertakes his first solo race in the New York to Vendee in June 2020, before the Vendee Globe itself in November next year. The new season of the Hempel World Cup Series got underway in Enoshima, Japan, sailing's host city for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Conditions are always changing on this huge bay, with its deep waters, exciting wave conditions and differing currents, so the sailors are keen to get as much time on the racecourse as possible. The early part of the week saw the 500 sailors from 46 nations in survival mode. 20 knots of wind and 2-metre swells made for tough but exciting races. By the final weekend, the wind had softened to 15 knots and conditions were perfect for the opening medal race in the Nacra 17. World champions Ruggero Tita and Caterina Banti went into the race 4th overall, but read the conditions well and were soon out in front and in the hunt for a medal. They were pushed all the way by French pair Quentin Audenet and Manon Delapierre, who began the day in 5th, but a great performance saw them challenging for gold. As the two boats raced towards the finish line at 20 knots, whichever pair crossed the line first would take the gold. Perfect teamwork was vital to balance the boat and keep it on its foils. The French proved to have the better line to the finish and took the gold. The Italians had done enough for the bronze, and the overnight leaders from Great Britain, Ben Saxton and Nicola Boniface, finished 5th, which was just enough to seal silver. In the 49er FX, 5 boats could win the gold, so it was wide open. The early race leaders, Ida Marie Bad Nielsen and Marie Olsen of Denmark, dropped their spinnaker too early at the bottom mark, and the lead switched to New Zealanders Alex Maloney and Molly Meach. The Rio silver medalists held on to win the race and seal the silver here too. Gold went to Dutch pair Annemiek Beckering and Annette Duetsch, whose 4th place finish was good enough to hold on to their overnight lead.
It will be very nice that we have the Olympic Games as well at this venue. I think you can have a little bit of everything, and this week we had a lot of waves and windy, and we really enjoy it, so it will be fun if we will get similar conditions next year.
The men's 49er gold was taken by Great Britain's James Peters and Finn Sterrett, whose top-class medal race performance saw them jump from 5th to 1st in the overall standings. Onto the windsurfers, and Yungju Liu of China had a 13-point lead going into the RSX women's medal race, which was just as well because she found herself in real trouble at one of the marks. She finished 8th in the end, but it was still enough to hold on to gold. By contrast, the men's race was very close, with just 6 points separating 1st from 4th as they sped away at 23 knots. The first man to the first mark was France's Louis Giard, as he held on to that lead all the way to the finish to claim his 2nd Hempel World Cup Series gold. Light winds on the final day meant 3 races had to be cancelled. The laser radial saw the Belgian Emma Plachard awarded gold. Denmark's Annemarie Rindom took silver, and Britain's Ali Young claimed bronze. Cypriot Pavlos Kontides, who already had an unassailable lead, was awarded gold in the laser. Silver went to Australian Matt Wern, who followed up his silver at the World Championships with a silver here too. Bronze went to Jean-Baptiste Bernaz of France. This round of the Hempel World Cup Series was also the Asian qualification regatta for the Finn class at Tokyo 2020. Sailors from China, Hong Kong and Iran were vying for a single spot, but China's He Chen won through to book his country's place at next summer's Games. The event itself was won by the Netherlands' Nicolas Heine, who led overall when the medal race was cancelled because of the light breeze. The 470 class had recently contested its World Championships on these same waters, and the newly crowned men's champion started this medal race with a huge overall lead. Australians Matt Belcher and Will Ryan could only be caught by Spain's Jordi Chamar and Nico Rodriguez as the two boats made similar starts off the middle of the line. New Zealanders Paul Snow-Hansen and Daniel Wilcox read the weakening breeze well and took an early lead, which they held onto until the finish. The Spaniards, who took silver in the World Championships, sailed well again to finish second for the silver. Belcher and Ryan's fifth-place finish was enough to take the overall gold, their third of the month in major competitions.
We've just had a great week to be able to be 16 points in front. Made today a little bit easier, but as you can see, we get a fairly wide range of conditions, and in super light conditions, the 10 best sailors, anything can happen. It's always an interesting race, but nice to come back at the end and sort of finish it off.
In the women's 470, Australian Nia Jerwood and Monique de Vries led the fleet going into the medal race, but struggled in the light winds, slipping back to finish sixth. Their nearest rivals on the overall leaderboard, Silvia Mas and Patricia Cantero of Spain, used all their experience and some clever tactics to cross the line ahead of the Australian pair and snatch the gold.
We've been here already for almost 2 months. It's been hard. We've had 3 important races here, so finally winning one of them. And at this point of the season where we're already exhausted, it's super important also that the same waters where the Olympics will take place next year. It's really meaningful, I think, and like that we can go home and rest before the pre-season with a lot of motivation to keep on working for next year.
Next month on the World Sailing Show, more America's Cup boats hit the water, and all the action from the 52 Super Series finale.